All right. Um, what's up? I'm back after like a super long time, which is, whatever. I didn't exactly do my research and look into whether or not um, like when the studio closes, or anything like that. So, I locked myself out of the studio for a month. Um, well, I did. I got locked out, but it's like whatever. It's nobody's fault. But yeah, starting a new semester and all that. Pretty cool. I don't have any math classes, which is, thank God, because I'm an art major and that's a disaster. Um, which I did just recently declare, by the way, which is cool. But I have like my classes so far, I've like enjoyed them a ton. Like I have philosophy, music appreciation, um, WGSS, women's gender, sexuality studies, and then like media and communications class, which is really cool. Um, I it's in like an online class though, so I'm not like doing anything in person, like sitting down. It's just a lot of like discussion boards and stuff, which is cool. It kind of gives you time to really sit and write and like just write things over and over again, which is what I do, and which is what I think I'm gonna kind of use this as, because I before this, just now, I sat down and kind of went through all my notes so far before recording this. Like all the key points and all of the really important things um, that I would like to like keep in my brain a little bit. So that's really cool. But like, I've been doing a lot of thinking about like the bigger questions, with like my philosophy classes and my like, they're all very liberal classes, like questions like what now, and like, you know, the wicked problems that we're kind of faced with as a whole, because there's a lot of them, unfortunately, but even though they kind of motivate art and, all that, like, I don't know, I think, like I've learned a lot of things, like a lot of philosophers, they kind of say, like think carefully, deeply, critically, and ambitiously, which is like, I think part of like society's problem in a way is that we kind of lack half of that, you know? Like, I don't know. We just don't do like complete rational thinking, which is, not wonderful. Like, and that's like all my philosophy class. And then there's like critical and cooperative perspectives. We are not cooperative at all, which is a bummer. And then, like there's just so many. But it's like that's all of those things, like thinking carefully, deeply, critically, and ambitiously are key to like humans flourishing. And we like don't do that as a whole. Even in like creative spaces and stuff, like I talk all the time about like guys in like creative scenes and stuff kind of, they know that, maybe women and just like any number of people might not have as many opportunities as them, and they acknowledge that, but then they don't like think about it. At least the ones that I've talked to haven't, and so it kind of defeats the purpose. And then it's like one step forward, two steps back in a way, because then they just get pissed off, which doesn't help. And then like in my communications class, there's efficiency, individualism, rationalism, and progress. And it's like we have efficiency, right? Because there's like media and like news outlets and, social media and all of these like platforms. They're very efficient at getting things out there and getting trends out, which I will talk about because I think that's really interesting. But like trend cycles and, ideologies and like even like moods, like it's like a known fact that like on social media platforms, like there is like all the time on like TikTok, for example, there is like waves of like these really depressing slideshows that kind of show up, like super existential and like, they're just depressing is like the best way to put it. And they're quite a bummer, and there is a lot of them, and that's a very efficient way of kind of transferring different feelings onto other people. And then individualism, you have people putting these slideshows out, or showing themselves in a way to make them seem like an individual, and that's cool. But and then millions of people adapt to that individual mindset, and then nothing happens after that. So then those individuals crash in on themselves, basically, like a black hole, it just all disappears. And then because like there's no rational thought beyond like, oh, I'm different, or I'm me, which is cool. That's I mean, whatever, that's fine. But there comes a point where you kind of think that's part of like the human condition, really, is like thinking about who you are and where you are, and where you stand and how you can kind of improve that. And when it comes to being an individual, like, you can't, I feel like there's kind of stages of individualism, and lacking that rationalism leads to no progress as an individual. Like, again, 2 steps forward, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, and it's just like, it just never ends, just like with trend cycles and stuff, and they're getting more frequent, and it's like, which is why with like younger generations like me, it's like, how do you even like figure out who you are when there's so many different individual scenes to join, even though that's not what individualism is, that's being your own person, but people are becoming an individual just to join a group. When it's like that kind of, usually joining the group is like a side effect of being yourself, or kind of being intensely true to yourself, which I've been thinking a lot about recently. And like, just like in my media and like society class, like we're working on like symbols, and I think I was gonna write about hard rock, anything considered alternative within society and communities. So like, you have like your leather jackets, your boots, your hairstyles. I wrote a group of individuals in the sense that there is a want and need to be intense, true, and have any assortment of attitudes. These symbols transcend and have become either true definitions of being intense to oneself or a mockery of the scene, which kind of gets on my nerves. That's where, I'm doing air quotes, that's where like the poser thing comes in. And it's like, are you, like, I just, like, it's just so, like, things can just get so, like I always think about, like, the Eat the Rich stuff, Like, there's a video going around, it's, like, Chad Vicious instead of Sid Vicious, as I'm sure you know. And it's, like, he has this, like, DIY, air quotes again, shirt with, it says, like, Eat the Rich on it with, like, safety pins and stuff. And it's just, like, okay, that's cool. But, like, I don't know, that's the stuff that frustrates me, because it's like, it's just so like performative in a way, and like, I don't know, I just don't get it. But like, on another note, I'm learning like how the piano works. So I'm gonna be able to absolutely rip and like shred on the piano once I can get my hands on one, which I think I might take up a practice room or something and like attempt it. Because for one of my assignments, I have to like do like make a tetrachord or whatever. It's like an 8-note scale where it goes like up and down. And there's like a really cool blues scale actually. So if I could totally shred a blues scale, that would be amazing. maybe like fully teach myself the bitch and Camaro, like the first like minute of the song, you know, and then the last 30 seconds or however long that song is just, you know, absolute shredding. But that's besides the point. But like I was thinking about like trend cycles and all of that, and like, you know, it's just, yeah, I mean, a group of individuals in the sense that there's a want and need to be intense, true, and any assortment of attitudes. Like people just become walking mockeries of scenes, and there's like a fine line between truly being like an individual and then kind of just conforming to like a scene of individuals. And it's like, well, you know, what's the point? You know, and that's kind of where I get kind of uneasy about, you know, even like the way I look and the way I dress and stuff, because then it's like, ew, you know, like I really hope that people don't see me like that, because it's not like, you know, I'm not trying to pull a Chad Vicious where I'm like, you know, doing all of like writing, like it's just, you know, there's like the punk's not dead thing. Hello Kitty says a cab. It's like, come on, you know, like educate yourself and then you won't have to do that. Because you can tell, you know, all you got to do is lay your eyes on that person and you know if they're being completely true about it, you know, because there's, like I said, there's an intensity to people that are really about it, and people that aren't about it truly do lack. And, you know, they give people like me a bad rap for sure, you know, because it's just douchey. And like, it's just, like, it's just taken out of context, you know, and it's just so difficult, you know, I don't know. I haven't done this in a while, so I'm kind of slow. But like, I also want to talk about bass guitar, and I've been really playing lately, and I just love it so much. Like, there's something about like the way that the bass kind of controls everything about a song or like the mood of like anything, you know, musically, because it's kind of the best of both worlds from guitar and like drums, because it's a bit more controllable than drums in a way, but then it's also like, I don't even know how to describe it, but nothing beats like someone that really knows how to play a bass and how to control themselves with it. It's just really great. And yeah, I mean, in my music appreciation class, I also learned about Hildegard von Bingen, which is an interesting name. She was like a nun in like the 14th century or something like that. I don't fully know, but she like a nun and like a composer, very badass, I will say. And she was actually like, what's it when you're like buried away from like all the other nuns or some shit? Like, she was like fully, I think it's like, it starts with an E. I don't actually fucking know. But like, it's just badass, you know, because she would write like, there was no like random, like there's like these chords that would always play during in these like chants, you know, that would like ring out during the whole song. But like hers were always very driving and like droning, but in a way where it was like you kind of like really wanted to listen, you know, and it's like, it's just fascinating. It really is. And then like, I guess going into like feminism and whatever, like I've kind of noticed in the last, you know, I mean, first off, I think I've kind of mentally, I've done a lot of growing, I guess, you know, since I last did this. I've kind of, I don't know, I've been able to like think myself through different situations that I, hadn't before, because in the last few months, I've made so many social jumps than I have in my entire life. And like, so I've kind of experienced all of these things in a very short period of time, and I feel like it's finally kind of set in a little bit, and now I'm starting to slowly be a bit more at peace, which is a great feeling. Even though I know that, life is up and down and, whatever. But like something we talked about in my WGSS class is like feminism becoming like a dirty word. And it's like, okay, let's go to like liberalism. Then there's like, oh, those damn liberals, dirty word, And it's like, now what? Because you can't, like, are you just like a not, like, I mean, it goes back into like people groups and identifying yourself as something. Like, maybe there's a way to kind of go into it without having to say, oh, I'm a feminist or like, a liberal in a way. I don't know how to properly word it, but it's like, it's a wicked problem, which is also fascinating. I wrote one of my final papers in my anthropology class on wicked problems, and I wrote about like hate cycles and how it's like with education and like the like financial aid and like the decrease in like financial help being put towards education and like taking away from like the liberal arts and like all of these things that kind of, from my point of view, make society whole in a way, are all sort of decreasing slowly and slowly, like, even though they were never high. It's just, I feel like now it's with the mix of like social media and stuff, it's just it's a bad mixture of being ignorant or unaware and also like being kind of biased about what what you take in as a person and what you think about and what you choose to educate yourself about. I'm doing air quotes once again, because a lot of the time, you're just informing yourself with false information when it comes to like hate, hate speech and all of that. It's usually bullshit. And I learned about paths of least resistance. And it turns out my professor in my WGSS class was actually like a music iconography professor, or he like did research on that or something like that. And so he has a great knowledge of like music history and something I'm really passionate about, which is like women in the music industry and in creative scenes. So like I kind of brought that up in discussion, and it's like, it's just, I mean, it felt really good to have like this dude, kind of acknowledge that, because that's rare also. But like, there's this kind of like insecurity about being, the way I put it was like being blacklisted in local communities, because it's like you can't be too pushy because you're seen as a bitch, but then if you're not pushy enough, you aren't trying hard enough, and then it's like, well, that's why you're not in a band. It's because you're not trying hard enough. So you have to kind of navigate it, in a way, like, just, you have to kind of fit yourself in there any way you can and hope for the best, and most of the time it doesn't work, and that's that's okay. It sucks, but like, that's just kind of how it goes. And like, you can't exactly blame anybody about it, because it's like, something that was brought up was like, we're too many generations into pinpoint blame, which I think is a really good point. Because it's like, once again, with the wicked problems, it's like, we are so many generations into like humanity at this point. You can't, everything just is a cycle, and it constantly feeds into everything that we know, and we are so past a point of being able to properly track anything that it's not possible. So I can't just like, be pissed off at the bros, or most of them at least, because it's not entirely anybody's fault, because we are like, I don't know how to word it. We're all, participants in like a damaged culture, I guess. And something else that was really great that I kind of, kept in my mind palace. Unwillingness to grant being overprivileged, but may grant that like women are disadvantaged, or like for being like for less well off people. Like, you can say, oh yeah, okay, women have it unfair. But then if you have somebody, it doesn't matter if they're like a woman or not, but somebody, and they happen to be a woman, you try to help them out. That doesn't necessarily mean you want to like bone them, which is, I think a big issue here. I think I've kind of made the joke. It's like, well, if, I'm going to attempt drums now to see if that helps me get a foot in the door somewhere. It's like, I made the joke. It's like, well, what do I, have to put a push-up bra on, like take my shirt off and all that shit. Because it's like, genuinely, like, what do I do? What now? Which is, something that I've kind of been, rotating around in my brain. It's like, well, what now? Because it's like, I just feel like my generation has kind of hit a wall in a way. And I get into this in my media and like communications class. There's the what now question. There's like the term rugged individualism, which I think is really interesting. And it's kind of like you have like your like villains, and then it's like it's the super like romanticized like groups of people where, you think of like maybe even like there's this great movie and like comic series. It's Tank Girl. It's very badass. You have to check it out. But like, you have these underground like heroes, and then you have like the villains, right? And there's just a constant struggle between like the really cool like underground people and then the higher ups that are just bummers. And I feel like that's kind of how life is going right now. Like, you have your cogs in the like machine where it's like, your punk rockers, and punk is in air quotes because I'm not even sure how to describe it at this point, because you say punk, you say alternative, whatever, it's all interpreted as black or white, like poser or the coolest person I've ever seen. So I don't even know what to say anymore. So I'm just going to call it that, and take it as you will, whatever. I don't give a shit. But like, there's like this, it's also like the popular culture and high culture thing where like, you have your questions like, is this art? Or, what makes you an artist, or anything like that. And it's like, where do you draw the line between like high fashion and streetwear and, graffiti and fine art and like all of these things? It's really interesting. And I am not wording this correctly, and I'm kind of just rambling because I don't exactly know what I'm doing. But yeah, I don't even know. I'm kind of, this is just all the stuff that I've learned in the past 2 weeks, and I'm really excited about it because I feel like I'm becoming sentient, you know, because I thought I was age regressing for a little bit, you know, for a hot minute. I thought I was going downhill very fast, but you know, whatever. Turns out I just needed to like do something, which is important. Anybody listening to this, the two people that are listening to this, you need to go do something. But yeah, I mean, like things like ignorance and oh shit, the trolley problem. I think I might be morally corrupt because we were talking about the trolley problem, and it's like, okay, I'm sure you know about this if you're listening, but it's like you have one person tied to the tracks, or you have 5 people tied to the tracks. Do you pull the lever, kill one person, or kill 5 people? And, you know, it's a lot of people kind of go immediately to like, oh, take one life instead of 5. And I think I've always kind of gone beyond that and thought about like, well, how old are they? You know, can I like know the context? Because if like one of them is like, I don't know, like a child predator, it's like, oh, you know, pull the lever, dude, you know, whatever. But like if it's like you have like a teenager or like a college kid and then like 5 90-year-olds, it's like, I think I might have to, you know, take them 90-year-olds out. And it's like, I know that's not wonderful, but like, I don't know. I just, that's kind of where my brain goes. And then there's like another one, which I hadn't heard about before, but I thought it was kind of funny. It's basically you're on like a bridge and then there's a trolley going under the bridge and there's like 5 people tied to the tracks, but you're also on the bridge with a morbidly obese man. And if you push the morbidly obese man off the bridge, you stop the train and then the 5 people live. But you like literally put your hands on the morbidly obese man and killed him to not kill 5 people. But then, you know, I got to thinking about, well, is the man like, you know, I don't know, is he like like context, you know, like who is on the tracks? Is it like 5 babies or like 5 college kids or like 5, like, I don't know, like little fetuses? Because then it's like, oh, okay. But like, it's like, whoa, I don't know. And that's why I think I might be a little bit corrupt, but like, I still have friends and I'm part of society, so I feel like it's okay. I haven't been arrested yet, which is cool. But yeah, it's that was interesting. And then like I was thinking about, I already talked about Hildegard von Bingen, which I literally laughed out loud in class in front of my professor when he said Hildegard von Bingen. Like as I was writing it out, I was like, dude, if I have children or get another pet, Hildegard von Bingen is somehow in there. I don't know how, but it's gonna happen. And I'm not gonna apologize for it. But yeah, I mean, other things in like my media class, like the term of like dulled cultural taste buds, which I think is really interesting because that's kind of I touched on this I think on the second recording where I was like talking about how like modern music, and modern as in like post 2000s, has very quickly hit a wall. And like I think part of that is because like it's like, what now? Again, the wicked problem, what now? Because we've advanced so much and so much music has been made and so many people have created so many things. It's like, where do you go? You know, like what do you do in this life now? Which is something that I've kind of wrestled with because you have things like AI art, which is bullshit. You have, your posers in air quotes. You have, media and people being taken advantage of, and then you have, like, just, disadvantages all around. And it's like, once again, like, where is the line of like something being good and something being bad? And like, like the internet and like social media, for example, huge list of pros, huge list of cons, but like, is there a balance between them? Like, if there is more cons, and less pros, but the pros are like very big deals within society, is it a good thing? And I kind of wrestle with that a little bit. And like, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. It's just, I just think that stuff is very interesting. And like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just, yeah, whatever. I think that's really interesting though. Also, been listening to, let's see, I'm just gonna end this shit now. A lot of Bob Marley, an insane amount of Bob Marley. That entire, like, he has a, there's like the Bob Marley and the Wailers, like 75th anniversary, whatever it is. What is it? Hold on. It's like 75-year something legend. The best of Bob Marley and the Wailers. That entire like collection or like compilation is amazing. And then there's Two Girls Kissing by the Swirlies. Wonderful. Kick the Tragedy, Drop 19s. Hair of Dog by Die Spitz. This is a band that is pretty small as of now, but they recently, like, I think like yesterday, at the time of recording this, they had a show in LA with Amyl and the Sniffers. And that's also a awesome band, and they're they've done well for themselves. So we'll see kind of where Die Spitz goes, if that's how you say the name. I don't really know, but yeah, that's great. There's Just What I Needed by the Cars. That's a beautiful song, and it kind of summarizes particular relationships that I have, and it's I it's who you are. It's just it's great, and it's kind of it like, even past like like a nostalgia thing, it just holds so much, like, it just makes me so happy. And like, it's a great song, obviously. But Best Friend's Girl by the Cars, also great. Stop Tonight by Yellowbirds. That's amazing. Vancouver by Jeff Buckley, also fucking awesome. Sub Pop Rock City by Soundgarden, great. It's along the lines of like Bitch and Camaro for me, because it's like, I don't know, there's like dialogue and shit in it. It's really great. This Is Love by PJ Harvey, Close to Me by The Cure, anything by Biba Doobie at this point. The Ceiling by Yellowbirds. Cry Cry by Mazzy Star. The entire Gish album, which is like, I've literally, like, I think I've said all of these already, but whatever. Goodbye by the Sundays, great. Hooray Fuck by Cosmic Psychos, that's a great Australian band. They inspired Amyl and the Sniffers. Like, they drew a lot of like hype from Cosmic Psychos. Bam Bam. I've already mentioned Bam Bam, but listen to Bam Bam. Bully. There's Where to Start and Added On by Bully. Those are great songs. Helter Skelter by the Beatles, but that's kind of an obvious one. Straight Edge by Minor Threat, which I really like. Not that I like identify with it, but it's a very fun song, but it's also it's nice to hear coming from, you know, what I've been surrounded by and like some of the things that I've seen. It's just, you know, it's nice to know that like the OG, like, not that it matters, but like the badass dudes and like people that, you know, are kind of solidified in history as like the badass people wrote that song, you know. And then Code Blue by TSOL. That one's interesting. You should just listen to that one with your parents. Heroin Girl by Everclear. Like a Rolling Stone cover by Jimi Hendrix. Live at, what is it? Yeah, Live at Monterey. That's wonderful. The Pearl Jam MTV Unplugged set is great. Crack Rock by Frank Ocean, awesome. Yeah, I mean, Portishead, Glory Box, live, great. Plainclothes Man and See You Later by Heat Miser. That's the band that Elliott Smith, at least from what I know, Elliott Smith started in I think Oregon. Great. Beast of Burden by the Rolling Stones. Simulation Swarm by Big Thief. My Way, which is a Sex Pistols, you know, just like listen to it. The Sex Pistols version of My Way, please. The American in Me by the Avengers, badass. Love's Theme by the Love Unlimited Orchestra. It's just nice. And then Roland by Interpol. Kiss Me by Sixpence None the Richer. I mean, I could like keep going and that's like awful, but Reaper by Clairo. Blackmail by the Runaways. Joan Jett in that is amazing. The Damned, Choices by Amyl and the Sniffers, that's great stuff. And then all of the like demos and like rehearsal tapes off of the deluxe version of Siamese Dream. Those are all great. Do the Evolution, Pearl Jam, Bags by Clairo, as always. Walk on the Wild Side, Lou Reed, you know, whatever, all of that. Yeah, that's kind of it. While I was writing down all of the things that I've learned in the last 2 weeks, I watched the Smashing Pumpkins live at Fillmore in 1994 during their Siamese Dream tour, and I think it was the last show of the tour. It's a great show. You should definitely watch that. And then the Wolf Alice 2018 show at a music festival. I forget the name of it, but I think I've mentioned it before. But it's a really great show. Wolf Alice Live 2018 at the TRNSMT Festival. I don't know if that's how you even say the name of the festival, but whatever. Who gives a shit? That's kind of it. If you made it this far, that's cool. Thanks for listening. Shout outs to all the people that I love. Cool. Okay, I'll see you. You'll hear me later. Or bye.